I'm Cathy, and I live in Polk County, Florida, and I work part-time for the Supervisor of Elections office. I help to get ready for an election, staffing precincts, working to prepare training for the potential poll workers, and then I actually work on election day as a clerk at a precinct. And probably the most amazing thing that I've learned in doing this is all of the different parts that go into putting an election together, from the individual little pencils and pens and all the little things that you find when you go to vote. Democracy to me means the ability for me to go in and choose without being told, without being coerced, who it is that I want to vote for. I can do my own research, I can study the candidates, and I can go in and vote the way I want to vote without anybody knowing how I voted, and then I can have a clear conscience for that. As citizens of this country, I think it is very important for us to do our own research and our own investigation into candidates, into issues, and then to make our thoughts known and our desires known, not only by voting on election day, but also by contacting representatives on issues that are important to us. Probably the most amazing part of the preparation for an election is that it begins right after the previous election, because all of the materials have to be collected, they have to be reorganized, packed again in boxes, and then begins the process of not only finding poll workers to work, clerks to be in charge of a precinct, learning and getting ready to train all of those people, but then you have to find places to do the training in each of the different communities. We also have to find polling places, places that are willing to give up their facilities on an evening and all day one day, and essentially have their life disrupted for the day of an election. Before an election day actually happens, every poll worker puts in a minimum of 2 hours of training, and depending on the position, it could be 3 hours or 7 hours, depending on what the position is. But on election day itself, our day begins by 6 a.m. We have to be at our polling location by 6 a.m., ready to go with everything we need for the day, any food that we want to eat, any medicine, all of that kind of stuff we have to have with us. We have spent time typically the night before setting up our polling location so everything is in place. All we have to do is get out our tools and put them in place and be ready by 7 a.m. when the voters come. And in my particular precinct, every time they are lined up at the door by 7 a.m. They are ready to roll. Throughout the day, people come and go in voting. We have book inspectors who greet the voters, check their IDs, issue them a ballot, or send them to somebody who can issue them a ballot or help them to vote. We have a voting equipment operator who monitors them putting their ballot in the machine, making sure that each one does get counted, and everything is fine before the voter goes out the door. At 7 p.m., whoever is in line does get to vote, even if it may be after 7 p.m., but nobody else can come and get in line after that 7 p.m. time. Once the last voter has left the building, then we begin the process of verifying the election, accounting for every ballot that we had received, putting everything back where it belonged, and that's a very important thing too, not just throwing everything in the tub. And then the clerk and one other poll worker needs to put all of that stuff back in the car and drive them back to election headquarters, where there's a very systematic procedure with sheriff's deputies involved to take and make sure that you've got everything that you had left with when we issue the supplies. So it's a very long day. Minimally, to arrive by 6 a.m., clerk and the person riding with them may not get home till 9 or 10, depending on the length of time, the length of the line at the Election Operations Center. It's a long day. One of the amazing things also in this whole process is the security of everything. When a clerk leaves with their supplies for an election, everything comes sealed and each seal has a special number. And then at the end of the day, everything that you are sending back gets sealed up again with a different seal and a different number, so that it is obvious that there has been nothing tampered with from the time we leave the precinct until we get back to election headquarters. In the case of an election where there is a contested election, or in some places there is by law, if a certain person wins by a very small majority, then there has to be a recount. In that case, every one of those sealed boxes of ballots has to be opened and rerun through a machine by a team of people that spend a good part of their day doing that. And then we verify all the results to make sure that the numbers we have initially were correct. I have seen many different experiences. I had to have many different experiences throughout my voting experience and working in the polls. Probably the one that is nearest and dearest to my heart, there's actually two of them. One of them is seeing people coming to vote for the first time, the 18-year-olds that are so proud because they're coming to exercise their right to vote. And then in my particular precinct, it's a neighborhood precinct. And so people come and walk to vote. They don't typically drive. And there are a lot of older citizens in those areas. And one woman, God bless her, is 90 years old, and she still comes out to vote every time. And it's so nice to see them come back time after time to vote. It is very important to them.